Yeah, that's what I've been talking about right here. No doubt.
Future Solutions, fencing outdoors. Clip of the day, man. I'm Dave Gatto. I'm your host from the East Coast, man. Burn your toast. Let's go. Hey, everybody, and welcome back. This is episode number 25 of the Future Solutions Fence and Outdoor Clip of the Day podcast. My name's Dave Gatto, and I'm your host. Guys, this is a really special episode. I want to give you the key that has unlocked a lot of my success in business, guys. What I'm going to talk about, that key for me was systems and processes, and not only having systems and processes in my head and coming up with them with my team, but also putting these down on paper, putting them in Asana, a program, and documenting these things, okay? So these things need to be documented. And you might say, okay, what is a system and a process? So a system is a way of going about doing something in your company. You might have a system and process in place for something that happens. Let's say a customer doesn't pay you. You might have a system for that. Okay, well, once they hit the 14-day mark, we send a letter, then we send another one from an attorney. If they don't respond to that has a notice to put a mechanical lien on their house, or the house is going to go up for sheriff's sale in order to get your money back, right? So you might have a system and a process in place for something like that. Or perhaps, you might have a system in place of what happens, a system and a process, when somebody calls in and asks for an estimate. Here it is. Don't let them off the phone without scheduling an estimate. Pull up your app, get their information right there, schedule it in, hit them with some pre-qualifying questions. And then before the estimate, after you guys got it scheduled and you got a time, you might want to, just touch base with them and then remind them of the appointment. So a system and a process is that simple. Now, there needs to be one in every aspect of your company. I'm going to tell you why this is so important, right? So number one, it's important to get this stuff documented for when you're onboarding new people. It's going to make your onboarding process so much easier. If you have everything documented in a library, you'll be able to train and onboard your staff with these materials in this library. And it can be, simple checklists. It could be quizzes. It could be some podcasts, some videos just like this that you might want to do, and you might want to talk to them. It could be a mix of all three. It could be like a little course, and then they can have a reference that they go back to. There's several apps that you can go on, and you can put this stuff on a database. Like we use Asana, or you can use Teachable if you want to quiz people. There's several different ones out there, and they're not a lot of money, guys. But the systems and processes are so important because what all these systems and processes are together, guys, this is the blueprint for your machine. Once you fine-tune the blueprint, guys, it needs to be documented. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I spent the last 10 years putting together a blueprint that has created an oiled machine that makes a lot of money and is scalable, it's repeatable. So you don't want to lose that work. And so if you got all these systems and processes in place, guys, it could be that much easier after that to start another location and then start another location after that, right? You have a system and process in place for your marketing. You have a system and process for your sales, your inbound sales, your outbound sales. You have a system and process in place for production. You have a system and process in place for assigning jobs to contractors, for collecting money that's not paid from customers, for handling legal disputes, for handling HR stuff when people get hurt at work or there's a different type of issue. So you're getting this whole entire blueprint together, and it's something that's always in flux, guys. It's always in motion. So you're always eliminating things and you're always adding things to it. Now that's number one. So it allows for scalability. Number two, guys, it's going to allow your freedom and your company to do a lot more stuff. As you build these systems and processes, you delegate this stuff out to the proper people. Like my administrative department has their own systems and processes that they follow. It's all documented, everything that they handle in there. They know exactly what they're doing. My production manager has all of his systems and processes in place. He knows everything that happens from the second he gets an order. how to look it over, how to double check for inventory that might not be documented, to see if there's stuff that's already open that they can use first in, first out. He has a way of checking the CNC measurements, the program, to make sure it's the right program. QC, quality control, make sure good products are getting out the door and people are getting proper counts and proper delivery times. Everybody has a system of process, and it's delegated. So everybody knows what this is. It's just not something that we talk about. It's something that's actually documented, and it's actually something that's gone over on a weekly basis, okay? Because after a while, people start pencil whipping things. They change the whole system and process. So that's another reason, guys. So it's buying you freedom. The third reason, guys, is that it adds value to your company, okay? So if you're getting a business valuation done, all right, one of the main things they're going to look at, I'm telling you this right now, is they're going to see what systems and processes you have in place that are documented, that are repeatable, because the last thing somebody wants to do when they're buying a company is to buy a mess. Even if you're profitable, okay, and you guys are making money and the phones are ringing and you got traffic on your website, they don't want to come there and run that stuff. They want to see that there's documented processes, that there's systems in place, that these things are delegated, and that people are handing them. They're teachable. You got people cross-training, and there's a reference that they could go back to, okay? Because they're there to run the business, not work in the business. They're there to work on the business, not in it. That's what I meant to say. So that's another reason, guys, why these systems and processes are so important. So the next question is you say, okay, well, how do I come up with a system and process? How do I document this? This sounds boring. This sounds excruciating. And I'm going to tell you, it does sound that way, but it's not. Because once you dive into a system and process, it's a fact-finding thing that begins to happen, okay? You're able to start to look at a system and say, okay, here is I'm just going to give you guys an example. So we have a lot of independent contractors that work for us, right? So there is a process and a system in place for them. So one of the things, when they get assigned a job, they get a checklist with them of things that they need to check off, sign, and date, and it needs to be submitted with the invoice before they're paid, okay? So it's got a step-by-step on there what they need to do in what order. The first thing they need to do is they need to call the customer and give them an ETA, make contact. They need to ask if there's any type of special delivery instructions. Am I not to park in the driveway? Am I not to pull in the driveway? Do I need to pull up from the street? Things like that. The next thing they do is they have to go with the customer has to be present so they can go over the layout, go over gate placement. They can ask them where the dirt needs to be placed and go over what way would you like your gates to swing. If it's a pool code compliant fence, they got to swing out. The latch got to be 54 inches above from the surface of the ground for pool code compliancy, right? And then so once they get that, the next thing they got to do is they got to put our yard sign out there. All right, so I'm going over this checklist, guys. This is part of a system and a process. So after that, they've got to do the final. They got to ensure that if it's vinyl, they got to ensure all the top rails are screwed in, the caps are glued, that there's gate inserts where the gates go, and both hinges have struck metal. If it's a double gate, we put 2 drop rods. Make sure the hardware is on the inside. If the gate's 5 foot and above in width, there's got to be gate braces on there. Put the gate braces facing into the customer's yard so aesthetically the fence looks the best from the outside looking in. So those are some of the things that they got to do. They got to make sure the fence is wiped down on both sides. They got to do a walk around for debris. Make sure they didn't leave any tools behind. They need to check the functionality of the gates. Another thing that they got to do is they got to contact the customer when they're done and do a final walk around. Show them the whole entire fence. Show them how the gates work. Make sure they're satisfied. And these are all check boxes that got to go down. And then if the customer was satisfied, yes or no. And if no, explain. And there's a box in there where they can explain. So, guys, how this whole how that checklist got done is because how we came up with that is because these were all problems in our company that we were dealing with over and over again. Hey, I got a double gate. I only got one drop rod. My gates blew open. Or there was no gate stop on it. Or, this hinge that seems like it's coming out of here. It hasn't struck the metal in here. And my gate's sagging. Is there a reason why my gate's sagging? I thought they were supposed to have a brace. So then we can go, we started figuring out where our major pinch points were and saying, okay, how do we stop this from happening? So now we got the checklist because the checklist adds accountability. And if they're pencil whipping it, guys, if they're just checking the stuff off to get it done, we're going to know because the customer is going to call back and say something like, hey, my cap saw blew off my fence. And I'm going to go through the checklist and we're going to say, okay, that was job number this. This contractor did that because they're assigned on there who it was. This contractor did it. Says right here that he checked off the glue to caps. Let me call this guy up, man, because this guy's not doing his job. And we could just say, hey, man, we see that you checked off that you glued the caps on all the caps blew off the customer's house. So, maybe you forgot to do that. We don't know, but can you go back out and can you fix that? Okay. So that's how we came up with these systems and processes, guys. And you go through your whole entire company and you come up with every single department, your own set of systems and processes, and you document them. Okay. And you add a lot of value to your company by doing that, guys. You're allowing it to scale. You're allowing yourself to, further fine-tune and dial in your blueprint for whatever part of your company that you're creating your systems and processes for. A big book that has helped me out with this is the book Traction. Also, my business coach, Carl, has been my coach for multiple years. He helped me get a lot of these systems and processes in place, and it is time well spent, guys. So I just wanted to give you guys a brief explanation of what systems and processes are, why are they important, and in the next few episodes, guys, I'm going to talk about how to put different systems and processes in place for sales, for marketing, for callbacks, for non-payment, for issuing independent contractors. And if you guys need a system and a process for something or don't know how to come up with one, feel free to email me, guys, or comment on the link. All right, so that's all I got. Real short episode, guys. If you like this episode, please share it and subscribe to it.
Yeah, that's what I've been talking about right here. No doubt.
Future Solutions, fencing outdoors. Clip of the day, man. I'm your host from the East Coast, man. Burn your wrist and toast. Let's go.